All right, so we have the lovely Lauren Bradley in house. Woo! All right, so we're going to kick off. Thank you all for joining us. We have just about 100 folks in our room today, which is so exciting. Lauren, can we test your audio really quick with a quick hi?
Of course we can. Can you guys hear me?
Beautiful.
Hold on, let me mic to my Yeti mic. There we go.
Absolutely lovely. Awesome. So I'm going to do a quick intro and we're going to dive right in. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Cabinet, we're so excited to have you. Cabinet is the ultimate administrative platform. We have a community of problem solvers who always have your back and the tools to help you supercharge your productivity. So in today's webinar with the lovely Lauren Bradley, this is just one example of Cabinet's commitment to the EA community. And before I introduce Lauren, I want you all to mark your calendars. So whether you do that in your handwritten notebook or you do that in your Cabinet to-do list, go ahead and mark your calendars for the High Performing EA Summit that we're going to be hosting April 22nd and 23rd. It's in celebration of Administrative Professionals Week. We want to deliver some more awesome, high-impacting learning and development to you. And our keynote is going to be the uber talented Maggie Jacobs, who is the author of Elevated EA. We're also going to have other lovely folks like Lauren join us to deliver some awesome training, best practices, and knowledge back into the community. Now, Lauren is a dear friend of mine, and she's the founder of The Officials, which is an online platform that empowers assistants through community, courses, and coaching. So for those of you that have already been a part of The Officials and you've taken my courses, I would love to hear what you think about them. Lauren is passionate about providing affordable and accessible training to the industry, which is why I was so excited when she asked me to help contribute content. She's been an award-winning assistant across 15 years, and she's worn every single hat, not just being a beautiful human, but an office manager, an EA, a virtual assistant, a private assistant to high net worth individuals. And so she really is this beautiful powerhouse who is going to convey her wisdom to us today. And so without further ado, I'd like to pass it over to Lauren.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Jillian. So yes, my name is Lauren Bradley. I'll get into that a little bit in a moment, but obviously Jillian has done a really good job of introducing me. Today, we're obviously going to talk about time management, and I'm going to treat it a little bit like a training session, a little bit like my TED Talk, and I will talk to you why time management is so important to me and how this is very, very, for lack of a better term, timely in sort of the timeline of my life. And why don't we just get to it? So I just have to move some things around on my screen. Here we go. Okay, so let's start off with a little story. It was today, actually. So I wanted to come up with a story for this because I think that my word of the year is actually storytelling, because I know how powerful stories can be and how it actually helps our learning process to actually hear about lessons in the real world. And then one just got handed to me. I learned a new lesson today. Today, I forgot my daughter at preschool. Anyone ever forgot their kid at school before? Am I alone? Let me know. This is what happened. Let me break this down, okay? This is what happened. My daughter needs to be picked up every day at 11:45. She's only just started going back to preschool, or as they call it here in London, nursery. Every day, 11:45. And I looked at the time. It was 11:17, and I thought, oh, exciting. I have to pick up Izzy soon. But then my next immediate thought, because I know me, was, oh my God, I hope I don't forget. Okay, good. Some of you guys have been there. It makes me feel better. But I thought, oh my God, I'm going to forget. And then I thought, no, I've set an alarm. I'm going to turn the microphone off on it because it's going to hear me say its name. I have a Google Assist that tells me, it pops up and tells me whenever I have anything to remember, because I know my brain, which we'll talk about very shortly, and everything's cool. Next second, what feels like a second later, bring. Hello? Oh, it's a number I don't know. Who could this be at 11:55? Oh, hi, it's Izzy's school. Oh, hi, how are you? Do you want to pick up your daughter? Oh, yes. Yes, I do. So that was what happened next. From 11:17 to 11:55, I time traveled mentally. I completely jumped from one thing to the other. So what happened? Well, one, I felt horrible. What was going through my mind is, this woman's going to think I'm an idiot. My daughter's going to feel abandoned, and they're going to think that I'm a terrible parent. That's what went through my mind. Not that I think I'm a terrible parent, but that they would perceive me as a terrible parent. Now, do I love my daughter? Yes, I do. Do I pick her up every day? Yes, I do. Do I have an issue with time perception? Probably. Did my alarm go off? No, it didn't. So I just want to make a caveat. The alarm did not go off, right? So I felt like the worst mother ever. I really did. By the way, she is fine. When I picked her up, she said, I got to go to the office today and I got to show them my drawings. And they have a picture of a frog on the wall. So she was like bubbling over with excitement while I'm racing to the school, which is just around the corner from my house, to pick her up, thinking I've inconvenienced someone, which is what happens when we're running late. We feel we're inconveniencing others. I'm feeling she's going to think I don't care, the perception that others won't care about us or think we care about them. But none of that was true. My daughter had gone on an adventure. The woman was perfectly lovely when I picked her up, but the damage had been done mentally in my mind. But what happened? How did I get here? I had alarms set. How did we get here? I became hyper focused on a project. The project, this presentation. The subject, time management. Yes, I see the irony. And something I'm extremely interested in is time management right now. At the moment, it is highly on my mind, and I'll explain in a moment why. But I was enjoying myself. I found this really great presentation theme. I was, buzzing. I thought of all these ideas, and I was adding to it. And 33 minutes went by like that. Does anyone else ever get hyper focused? Yes, I am always authentic, never fake. Yeah, I want to share my mistakes with you because one, we're going to talk about this theme in a moment, literally going to talk about it in just one moment, because we're human, but also because I want you to learn from my mistakes. We all need to go through mistakes. We have to understand that mistakes are fuel. They're not failure, okay? So the two morals of this story are, we are human. Last week, the children had half term. So here in London, where I live, that means that in the middle of each term time they have 3 year. In the middle, they get a whole week off. And because of the way my brain works, I need to have my Google Assist tell me, it has to interrupt what I'm doing to remind me of what I need to be doing. So we have 6 alarms that go off on any given day. For a week while they were off, I told the school-related ones to pause. What I realized today at 11:55 is I had not reinstated those. So I know how my brain works. I try to make intuitive time management decisions. However, I'm human, and this one got past me, and I was really lucky that someone was caring enough to take care of my daughter. She had a great adventure, and that's what happened. So I just want to remind everybody, I know when we're assistants, we are very focused on, we think that means we have to be perfect. It thinks we need to know the answer to all things. And that's not really the case. What our job is not to do is do all things. Our job is to make sure that all things are handled or done. And so in this case, obviously I tried to do everything that I could. I just missed something, and I was human, and I am forgiving myself for it. I loved how my thought was not that I thought I was a terrible parent, because I know I love my child. I know that I do stuff for her all the time. I know I set those alarms usually, but my perception was somebody else. Have you crawled into my head? But my perception was somebody else would think I was a terrible parent. And then I had to let that go, which I've gotten much better at doing over the years. The next moral of this story is time management is subjective to our perception of time. I felt like that time, those 33 minutes between 11:17 and 11:55 just vanished because I was having a good time, because this is the good stuff to me. Me talking to you guys and sharing this kind of stuff is like what lights me up. So that time went like that. And that's why my initial thought when I saw 11:17 was, God, I hope I don't forget, because I know how my brain works, right? And so it, depending on what task you're doing, depending on how good you think that, how interested you are in that task, sometimes can determine how long or slow time can be, right? So time, we try and quantify it in many different ways. We break it down into minutes and hours. We describe the passage of time, so before and after significant events. And we define it things like eras like the Ice Age, the Trump administration, Picasso's Blue Period. You know, you hear these terms that describe a time during that, that describe a time with a classification, that era, right? Time is also perceived. So time management, we think we've got 24 hours in a day, so many minutes, so many seconds. And does anyone feel like they are racing against that clock? I work from home. Okay, so let me know in the panel or in the chat here, who works from home and who is in the office? That would be helpful. Okay, work from home. Okay, so working from home has, oh my goodness, so many. Oh, you're flying past me, guys. There's so many comments in here. It's amazing. Okay, work from home, work from home. Yes, every day. Okay, so there's great things about working from home, but we can lose track of time. When I used to go into the office, I had a finite amount of time, right? Does anyone have issues with time? Well, one, we have this weird Bermuda Triangle that happens during lockdown where God knows what day it is. It's Tuesday, by the way, everybody. I've made sure that my computer tells me that in the top every day because I wouldn't know what day it was. But then also we lose track of time in the day. When I went into an office, I had to be there at 9. I could leave at 5, or depending on what job I was, sometimes 4:30, sometimes 6, depended. But I felt like when I walked through the threshold at work, it was like a countdown clock. Did anyone feel that way that was in the office, or like where you're like, okay, I have this amount of time to get stuff done. Let's go. And I've kind of lost that a little bit because I own my own business. I am all time is time I could be working, right? And so I have this my perception of time and when my work time is like out the window, right? It can easily be distorted by context. Time is easily distorted by context. So me working from home, me working on something that I like, if so depending on how interesting this talk is for you guys today, time could go really slow or time will go really fast. So it'll be, does anyone remember Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince when he walks into Slughorn's office? I'm showing all my nerd points, by the way. And in the movie, you see and also, I don't remember if it's in the books or not, but in the movie, there's an hourglass and the time goes slow. The sand falls through slower or faster, depending on how interesting the conversation is. That is a great example of the perception of time and how it can change. Like when you fall in love with someone or you meet a new friend or you go out with friends, the time can just fly by. If you go on a date and that person's a dud, it can crawl by, right? So we have these perceptions of time and there's different things that change it. Now, also what we have affecting our time management is our dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. I want to make sure I get it right. So if we had little horns, little devil horns, they would be this area of the brain, basically. And so the reason why I'm so interested in that lately, and I want to talk to you guys a little bit about that, is because this is what affects our working memory, they call it. So it's not just our short-term memory. Our short-term memory sits in here, but it also is our ability to actually respond to that short-term memory and sequence things. So we can actually remember what to do next and prioritize our time. Okay. So some people like me are neurologically divergent. Okay. I'm highly suspecting, I should say that, because I'm in the middle of being diagnosed, I think, being assessed, let's put it that way, for being slightly neurologically divergent. But from what I'm learning from all of this is where we have our executive function. So does anyone know what executive function is? Okay, so executive function is our ability to actually complete a task. Our sequencing is being able to take context and turn it all around. And that works with our limbic system, which is like in the center of our brain, which is related to emotions. And those start both lighting up. And when you're really interested in something, and when time is passing really quickly, and you're making decisions to focus where your energy is, which is on this presentation instead of picking up my daughter, that is really mixing together with my emotion, even though I love my daughter, but I'm interested in this thing. And my perception of time was totally altered. The context of it totally altered my understanding of time. And so I find this happens a lot to us, where you have a to-do list, where you know what you need to do, but yet your brain sometimes can be like mud, or it can feel all too overwhelming. Does anyone spend days just wondering, just feeling like if they could just reorganize their to-do list, that everything will be okay? They just need one day to reorganize everything, but then that's every day, right? That becomes every day. Does anyone else feel that way? Okay, great. We're going to go on to the next thing. So I want you guys to think about all that. This part of our brain is what is telling us when we select our attention. Oh my goodness, I want to read your comments. Hold on. There's so many amazing ones coming through. Unfortunately, yes, always. You can also get into a state of total immersion and forget time, which is what happened to me. This is a whole other phenomena. Yes, me, so freaking me. Oh, shoot, you just described me. Programming my mind. I literally reorganize my to-do list every few hours when I'm busy. Yes. So there's a whole, I mean, guys, I could go on and on into what changes the context of our time management. They've done studies on whether estrogen affects time management. I'm so glad there's men and women in here, but there's things about the higher your estrogen is, the more likely you are to be able to manage time, the higher it is at the time. So it's one of the reasons, maybe an argument why women are really good at this role, why there's so many of us here. But also if you have a drop in estrogen or you don't have estrogen as much as somebody else, why it might be harder. But then you have other things that like collecting cultural information. Remember everyone's birthday and having that sit on you, that makes you better at doing tasks, whether you have an estrogen level that's high or not. There's all these studies out there. I can share them with you if anybody wants to know them. My contact details are at the end. But if you have a drop in estrogen, like you're my age and I have some drop in estrogen, this then feels like I used to be able to do this really well. Now, what the hell has happened to my brain? So I've had to course correct over time and change what I'm doing and really learn about how my brain works, because it's not for a lack of wanting to do all these things. It's because my outside manipulators are changing the way I perceive time, if we put it that way. But I just want everyone to know here, go through the chat and see how many people said yes, how many people resonated with this, because we are all human. I want everyone to know you are not a perfectionist. You are an assistant. You are there to make sure stuff gets done, not to do all things. Okay. So I want you guys to see everyone is just like you. Okay. So let's jump into it. Now that we talked a little bit about, understand that time is not, in one way, it's a finite thing. In another way, it's a concept. Okay. So let's talk about me for one more second, because Jillian did such a great thing, but let me introduce me and then we'll jump into why this all matters. So as Jillian was so lovely to say, she reminded people that I am a human, right? So I am a human. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I live in London. I met my husband on MySpace. It is our 13-year wedding anniversary today, and I'm spending it with you fine folks while he takes our kids to the playground. So I'm 5 hours ahead of the East Coast in America. I have two daughters, 8 and 4, Izzy, who I forgot at school today, and Layla. I love puzzles and games, which I think is what makes me a really good problem solver and kind of shows you where my brain goes. Could anyone here like walk by a puzzle and see one piece missing and sitting to the side and just walk past it? Or would you have to like put the puzzle piece in? Would you like itch to like be like, no, this has to be right? Or imagine a puzzle that has a missing piece. Oh dear Jesus. Okay, hold on. Moving on. All right. So I also want you guys to consider me your office bestie. That is my style of the way I talk to people. I want you to think of me as a learned friend. I am human. OCD squirrel. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Yeah. So thank you for the happy anniversary, guys. Thank you so much. So that is a bit about who I am as a person. I also consider myself a multi-potentialite. Has anyone heard that term before? So I feel that, and this is, studies are showing and companies are showing, they want more people that are generalists, that know a lot of things. And I feel like I'm definitely someone who knows a lot of things, a little about a lot of things. I'm a founder, I'm a corporate trainer, I'm a mentor, I'm a professional problem solver is what I call us assistants. I'm one of the mentors at the State of the Executive Assistant Facebook group. Is anyone a member of that group? If you're not, I would definitely join it. It's got over 12,000 members. It's worth checking out. I have over 15 years experience in the field, and I am an Office Ninjas winner. It's the State of the Executive Assistant group. Thank you very much. So that is, it's run by a company called Karoo. They used to be called Snack Nation. If you're in the States, you probably know Snack Nation. And, but they're pretty cool. And there's 5 of us that are moderators in there with 1 member from Snack Nation, who's the admin. And yeah, so I'm one of the moderators there. So you should probably see my tech tips. And on Thursdays, everyone posts about all their promotions and what events are going on. So yeah, so you guys will see me in there. Say hi. And lastly, I'm the founder of The Officials. As Jillian said, it's an online platform for admins and assistants. Raj is in here. He's a member. I saw Jackie. She's a member. There's a few people in here that are members. I'm so happy to see you all. Thanks for coming. We have a super supportive community. Tracy's in here. Yay. We release a new course every month, which Jillian kind of blew the whistle on that one, that she is someone that you might see as one of our world-class professionals, because she does a course on goal setting and performance reviews, which is one of our most highly reviewed, highest recommendations and reviews for her particular course, because it is so helpful and she's amazing. Hi, Dana, as well. Oh my goodness, I'm seeing all the officials. Kayla's in here. Oh my goodness. Okay. We do live events and including live coaching. So I think tomorrow night, sometime this week, we're doing our power hour, which is when I basically do a live coaching. And we have member events. We just did a, what did we do? A murder mystery. It was hilarious. You might've seen me post about it on LinkedIn. And we have discounted mentorship for our HQ members, but I do mentorship as well. So this is like, that's me. Okay. So why this, I just want you to know, like, why am I talking about this? Like I said, I'm being assessed. Some people drop the hint in here. Yeah. My brother has ADHD. My father has ADHD. And I'm only just discovering that I might have it too. I'm being assessed. I'm not diagnosed. So I don't want to say that I am. But if I'm not, then I have issues with execution. And it seems to be getting worse. So I am hoping, but it's helping me realize that I've come up with a million coping mechanisms for my time management. If you could see this room right now, I'm looking at about 30 Post-it notes in front of me behind this computer. On this computer, I have 6 Post-it notes. Over there, I have over 100 Post-it notes because I have issues with object permanence. Anyone else a Post-it note junkie? And so I need to be reminded. I need constant triggers and cues, right? Okay, so let's start by asking you guys another question. Have you attended or learned anything about time management techniques before? Have you attended anything related to time management before, or where it was a part of? Yes. Okay. So tell me if you know any of these techniques. Eisenhower method, eat the frog, Pomodoro timer, task triage, prioritization, eliminate, automate, delegate, multitask, do not multitask. What else is in there? Task matching, create routines, planning ahead, hyper focus, time blocking, track your time, menstrual cycle mapping, habit stacking, chronotypes, getting more sleep, miracle morning. I think that's my last one. That is my last one. So have you guys heard of all these? Yes, so many of these. Why are you here today then? If you've heard about all these, you learned about all things, why are we talking about time management? Because of these outside forces, right? It is like trying a bunch of diets, right? So that is what I want to talk to you about today, is that, listen, I'm not going to tell you anything that's shockingly new. I will tell you maybe a few things. There's one thing that I learned recently called body doubling. Has anyone heard of this term? So I have, as I said, I have all these coping mechanisms to help kind of combat the fact that my brain needs all these outside cues to remember things, right? And so one of them is these things called body doubling. And body doubling is when I ask someone to sit next to me so I can complete a task. Has anyone ever done that before? Like I ask my husband to come downstairs with me when it's like, I want to make a midnight snack for moral support is what I used to call it. Or he would ask me, he's launching a song on Spotify. And so he's trying to work through Spotify and how to get this stuff all in there. And he said, just, will you come downstairs and help me? So I sit down and I'm waiting for, and I said, like, okay, I'm here. He's like, just a minute. And then 40 minutes later, as I'm working on my computer waiting for him, he's like, I'm done. He just needed me to sit next to him. And that helped him complete the task because I was there. And that's called body doubling. Sometimes if you're someone that needs to have the TV on while you work or some type of sound, then that's another version of body doubling. And I didn't know that was a thing until I learned it was a thing. And then I was like, oh, I do that, right? Okay. It's another way of saying accountability, but it's not even an accountability partner. It's almost an accountability partner. It's literally a body just being there. Okay. So those types of things can help you complete tasks. All right. Do you still feel overwhelmed a little bit? Learning about all this stuff. In fact, it's overwhelming to see that list, right? So I'm going to talk to you about how some of those help me. Okay. So why don't we walk through that? So you're likely overwhelmed. You wouldn't be here if you're not. So I'm just going to tell you about what's intuitive to me. And I want you to think about what's intuitive to you. Because there's a ton of stuff out there, as we just saw. Chewing gum and music helps you. We're going to talk about music in a second. Okay. So intuitive time management. This is not a new concept. This is something that's been out there. I think anything can be intuitive. It should be something that makes you feel comfortable, that simplifies your day and allows you to be your most productive self. That's what we're going to walk through. And you have to decide, think about these things when you're thinking about time management concepts and think about what works for you. Does it make you feel comfortable? Or do you feel like you're like, has anyone started at a new job and they haven't given you a notebook yet? Or you don't have your type of notebook and your type of pen? Anybody else? And then you feel like you just can't even get stuff done because it's a whole new system, right? Okay. So I'm someone that needs to have a fine point, 4-color Bic pen. This is my pen of choice because I actually have a system that I've been using since I was 18. I didn't realize it became intuitive. Black, I have a blog on this called the 4-color pen method on the officials, but black and blue are how I take notes. So this is one time management tool I use. If I just see black or just blue, it's a sea of just, my brain can't focus. So I need to have it change every now and then, every paragraph or so. Red is an action and green is follow-up. So maybe I've crossed something off my list, but I'll put FF now, so it doesn't say FU. I put FF for Follow Up Friday, which I'll talk to you guys about in a minute. So this is what I do. I have to have this pen and I have to have this notebook. So I don't even ask anybody anymore. I just walk in with one. I ask them to buy me the next one, but I realized it threw me off for a whole day. I haven't seen one of these pens. They're the best pens. I have it on I have another blog on like what I use for my home setup. So you guys can check that on the officials as well. You know what? Jillian is the best moderator I have ever seen. She's so on all of this stuff. This is amazing. Jillian, can you just moderate everything that I do? This is amazing. Okay, next slide. Okay, so how do I start my day? So if anyone follows the officials on Instagram, I recently did a reel. And I think I have the link here. I can paste it in to the chat myself. And it was our most popular reel we've ever done. And when you see it, you'll see why.
Miss Lauren.
You guys can't see my slides because I'm not sharing them.
But that's okay. We actually haven't needed them. You have been so thorough.
You don't really even need them, to be honest.
I'll just keep walking through them.
I'm okay. Good job,
You're
Jillian.
welcome to share.
You know what? This is what happens when I open my slides. I was trying to be prepared. I opened my slides before we talked. I thought I'll get it already, which I never do. Because I did that, I changed my system. I forgot. Apologies, everyone. I will send everyone the slides if they want. Does anyone want to see the slides?
Sure.
Does anyone actually want to see them? I did spend time on this. Okay, I'll share them with you really quickly. Okay. There we go. See where my brain goes? What a funny brain I have.
You have such a good marketing eye too. I think this is something that some admins struggle with is less is more on slides and using a lot of really large visuals to convey the concept. Lauren is a master at this.
In fact, I'd like to even use less than this, but I do think when you're teaching something, I'm not presenting a concept or pitching an idea, but I am teaching something. I do like to use bullets, but I try and use as minimal as possible. Less is more, right? And I will send the slides. So I'll give them to Jillian afterwards. And I guess when you send the replay, you can send them out with the slides. Sounds good? Okay. So where was I? Morning routine. Okay. So on Instagram, I put out this reel that was just very, very simple. It literally shows my morning routine. And when you see my morning routine, there's not that much to it. I have it listed here. I try and wake up an hour early. So has anyone read The Miracle Morning? Getting up at 5 a.m. Try and get up an hour before everybody else. Has anyone read this? And they have these 6 things you're supposed to do in the morning, but I am intuitive. I took what worked for me. I really liked that concept. I listened to the version for parents, which I thought was really helpful because I'm a parent. Hi, Debbie. So I'm realizing I'm seeing all these officials in here. It's awesome. And so I really liked it. And I'm someone that digests nonfiction better in audio format. And then if I really like it, I'll buy the book and make the notes, whatever. Hi, Becca. Oh my God. Okay. So cute. I love seeing you guys. Okay. So what I do is I try to get up an hour ahead of everyone else. I'm getting better at this. It's taken me months to get back into this because I'm a morning person and a night person, which is amazing. But what that equals is I get no sleep in between. I'm usually the last person to go to sleep and the first person to get up, but I'm getting better at going to sleep earlier, much better, and waking up on time. I find that my brain is so much fresher in the morning. That's my personal circadian rhythm. That is my chronotype, is that I'm just a better functioner, better at functioning in the morning. So that's me. If I can get ahead of everybody else, I can get ahead of my day. I start to slowly burn out. And then if I'm trying to do work in the evening, it takes me twice as long. And I've now really buckled down on that. I drink a glass of water because does anyone else put shower on their to-do list? Lunch on their to-do list? Because if they don't put it in, they forget to do it. That's another symptom of how my brain works. And so I have to remember because I actually struggle to drink a glass of water a day, not because, a bottle of water a day, a struggle, not because I don't love water. I absolutely love it. I just forget. I genuinely forget. And I will plan my whole day and not have these human functions in it. So I remind myself. So now it's I'm kind of habit stacking here. This is what you're going to see is I'm habit stacking. I'm getting a glass of water. I'm trying to get up before everyone else. I light a candle because that reminds me that I'm home, because I'm home. I can't light a candle in the office. Maybe I would have a essential oil diffuser. You could probably plug in one of those at your desk or roll on essential oil, something that just calms me and reminds me that I'm in control of my environment and I'm in control of my time. That candle, I've had to switch to tea lights because it was getting excessive. It was getting quite expensive. I have a gratitude journal. Does anyone have the 6-minute diary this is my 6-minute diary. This is all time management. I'm telling you, setting up your day for a good day, to have an intentional day, to set an intention for your day is time management. This is one of the best time management techniques I've ever had. And so what it does in the 6-minute journal, asks you the same question every day. I think there's the 6-minute diary. I think the 5-minute journal is the same and there's an app for it. I personally like to write, and the same every day. It asks you what you're grateful for, 3 things that you're grateful for in the morning. This is how I'll make today great. And your positive affirmation. I have 2 positive affirmations I use every single day. One is I am in control of me. And the other one is I just heard Denise from Get Rich Lucky Bitch. Do you know who Denise is? Denise DT. I can't remember her last name. But she said, I serve, I deserve. And I was like, damn, if that doesn't resonate to an assistant, what does? If I serve, I deserve. And I thought that was amazing. And so I write that, or I am in control of me. And that's what you do in the morning. And then there's 3 questions you answer in the evening. And what it does is it makes me start with gratitude. It makes me start with positive intent for my day instead of being stressed out. Oh my God, I got to log in. Who's going to be asking me what? How many emails do I have? Instead, I set up the intention of I'm going to have a great freaking day. And this is how I'm going to do it. Now, sometimes the day goes to pot, right? It doesn't go up right. But one of the last things it asks you is 3 great things you experienced today. And then no matter how bad my day was, I end my day with positivity. I can't write in a freehand journal. I cannot tell you guys how much this has changed my life because it's a guided journal essentially. And I'm on my 2nd one. I had this on my blog as well, from one of our recent blogs about my work from home setup. So if you guys want to look for it there, you can find it. And the name of the journal is the 6-minute diary. It's on Amazon. I don't have a link for you right now. I'm sorry, I should have had one for you, but it's really helpful. I think Raj just ordered one. Farzana, hi Farzana, also has one. But it really did change the way I journal, and it's really helped me. Thank you, Jillian. And I write my affirmation, and it's always, I'm in control of me, and I serve, I deserve. Okay, so who here doesn't know about task triage or inbox triage? Is this a new concept to anyone here? It was to me when I heard it. It wasn't new to wasn't new to a lot of people. Okay, you guys are going to like this one. This one really changed my life. So some of you have been here. This will be a reminder. Okay, I don't even know who came up with this, to be honest, but it's amazing. And I have it a little laminated sheet behind me that reminds me to do this. So it mostly works for inbox, but you can do it with any task or anything that you have to decide what to do in your life. Many of you have heard about the Eisenhower Matrix, right? Based on the Eisenhower Matrix, right? And so, and Stephen Covey, who was really big, he wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He was really in love with the Eisenhower Matrix, which is urgent and important. You know, the 4 boxes: urgent and important, not urgent, not important. Where do you do that? I personally, my brain, no computey, the Eisenhower Matrix. I can't constantly be thinking, is it urgent and important? It doesn't work that way for me. I'm much easier to do this. For me, this focus funnel of do it, delete it, delegate it, or schedule it, and the and automate, eliminate, delegate. Those work much better for me. They're very simple. They're easy to remember. My brain needs easy things. And so those are the types of things that I do. Let me talk to you about this. Do it means do it in less than 2 minutes. If you're thinking about your email, let's take this as inbox triage. You're going through your emails in the morning. The first one you see, it's asked you a question. Can you answer it in less than 2 minutes? Then do it. If you cannot, we'll get to that. Is it something you can delete? And that means unsubscribe. Don't just move it, unsubscribe from it, mark it as spam, get it out of there, or delete it. Especially if you work in a Microsoft environment where your emails are actually sitting on a server, maybe at your company, then you really want to delete that. Servers have gotten much better, though. It used to be that you couldn't have more than 3,000 emails in a folder. Does anyone remember that? Right? I don't know if anyone remembers that, but I remember the IT departments at several companies coming up to me and like, don't put any more than 3,000 emails, because I'll save everything. I think we should save everything and just archive it. But it's really important to make sure that you delete the stuff you know you will never need again. But I'm also a big believer in keeping everything for evidence. So, but if you know you don't need it, get rid of it. Delegate it. Is it something that's really for you to do? Or is it something else? Is your boss asking you about where this thing is with so-and-so? Shoot it over to them and say, hey, is this task done right away? Can you ask somebody else to do it? Is it that the fridge is broken and you're an office manager? Shoot it on over to the supply company or the facilities manager or whoever, if it's your responsibility, to the vendor or whatever. But get it out of here. If you can do it in 2 minutes, get it on out. Or, oh, I've messed it up. I've put automate it. It should be schedule it. Apologies, everyone. I will fix that when I send these slides out. That should be do it, delete it, delegate it, or schedule it. Sorry. And so you can see, again, how my brain works. And so schedule it means if you weren't able to do it in 2 minutes, you weren't able to delete it, you weren't able to schedule it, or I'm sorry, you weren't able to do it, delete it, or eliminate it, get rid of it, or delegate it, then you should be scheduling it. And Julie Perrine, does anyone know Julie Perrine? I really like her. And I was listening to a podcast she was doing where she was talking about, I'm not sure if she said it or she learned it from somebody else, but she said, you don't go to your mailbox, open up all your mail, and then pay your bills, essentially is what she was saying. You don't stand outside by your mailbox and do the tasks that are inside the mailbox, right? So why would you do that why would you treat your inbox as your to-do list? And I proudly said for years, oh, my inbox is my to-do list. Now, especially once my to-do list got longer than a page in my notebook and longer than 40 emails in my inbox, it just didn't work anymore. It didn't work that way. I had to get it out and I had to schedule it. My to-do list was anyone else here really like notebook, but maybe your to-do list, if you really looked at what you have, is spilling over into pages. And so you're not just moving it ahead anymore. So if you're just on a to-do list and your to-do list is one page, great. If not, I move mine to my calendar, and I also use task management systems. So I schedule everything. I'm going to show you in a minute. I get some kickback on this from assistants who say, I can't do that. Does anyone here think they can't do that? They're like, my own calendar is filled with my executives. I handle multiple executives. The stuff comes out of my inbox. I couldn't possibly do this. I promise you, you can. You can talk to IT about creating you another calendar. You can even open a free Gmail account and just use a calendar there. You can use the calendar on your phone, but you can schedule your own tasks. So if anyone here says that would be kind of hard for me, I want to challenge that. Okay. So I think you can schedule everything. You expect your executive to follow the calendar you set for them. That's what they do. And they do, don't they? If it's in their calendar, that's one thing I really learned from executives as being my mentor, is to schedule everything. All of my scheduled emails go into a priority category with a quick shortcut key to move it into a bucket. Okay. So some people are using the folder method or the label method, depending on what you're doing. Cabinet has different ways to do this as well. I actually think folders are little coffins where emails go to die personally. And so I have one that's called, I use Gmail so I can just archive it and it never disappears. It's just no longer in my inbox and I can search for things. When I use Outlook for different clients, then I will create one folder called 00 archive. So it shows up at the top of my folders. And then for temporary projects that I'm working on, I might create some and that's it. But normally labeling or color coding or something I will do, but I try and keep it as simple as possible. Yeah. To me, folders in your inbox are places where emails go to die. They're little coffins. Okay. So this is what my calendar looks like. So I thought I better put it on here because I didn't know how much time I would have to actually show you my process. So this is how I schedule everything. And we're going to get into some of those concepts I said about like automate it, eliminate it, delegate it, those types of things. So what I start off with is all my reoccurring daily tasks. If I was in the office, when I was an office manager, I would have to do a walkthrough every day. And even sometimes when I was an executive assistant, I would have to do a walkthrough every day, make sure all the rooms were looking good. There was water bottles in them. Just in general, just making sure everything's okay. Just do a walkthrough. So I would schedule a walkthrough every day. I would have my stand up with my executive beforehand, usually because we'd be the first ones in the office. Sometimes we didn't even have to have it, but I wanted it scheduled every day, at least the time that I'm going to work on what I need to update them with. Sometimes that could have just been an email, but I want to make sure I have that time scheduled in my calendar. That's why it's at 8:30, because I'm kind of preparing for it and I'm walking in. I do a walkthrough and then I start task batching. So task batching is different than time blocking. So some people will time block for, it's only slightly different though, will time block for every particular task, which I'm kind of doing here. But then what I do is I try and lump some of them together. So like I will have a time block on this Wednesday. You see, I have finance at 9:30. And so I start adding things that I know have to do with finance to that time. And so I put in there, I'm invoicing, I'm doing the reports, I am paying these particular suppliers. I'll lump that in. So they're different tasks. So they don't need their own time block. Exactly. I put them in there so I remember what to do. But I've also reminded myself, okay, during that time, try and do all the finance stuff. And what I do this most often with is my follow-up Fridays. Does anyone see me talk about follow-up Fridays before? So follow-up Fridays, if you follow anything that I tell you today, do follow-up Fridays. So follow-up Fridays is I block out my Friday from the morning till lunchtime. Honestly, it's a game changer. I put in there, anytime I know I have to follow up on something that's not necessarily time specific, I just need to know by the end of the week, I got to follow up on that. I will throw it in here and put FF for follow-up Friday. It's better than FU for follow-up. But I never forget the follow-up. Every single task has some type of follow-up. It almost always does. You wouldn't believe how it's very hard to even get a task off your system or some way you have to check up on it. There's always a follow-up. So I will put in on Friday all the restaurants I have to confirm with, all of the appointments I have to confirm with, anything I didn't get done that's kind of loose, any person that I sent an email to and I just want to make sure I check that they replied. I'll put something in so you can see I've got follow-up Friday, chase this person. Everything I put in at least is 30 minutes because someone will interrupt me. So I never put anything in that's less than 30 minutes because I know that time is going to get used somehow. Where do you keep the list of follow-ups for Friday? So you can see on my Friday, I actually will either go into follow-up Friday, I'll double click on it and I'll start to make a list. Or as you can see, what I've been doing lately is just putting it in. I've already scheduled my time for follow-up Friday. I just start dropping it as the next task, and then I'll rearrange it when it's time. I'll look at that and say, okay, how do I want to prioritize this? And then I've put in all of my lunches. I've put in every time I'm checking my email. I check it in the morning. I check it before lunch. I check it after lunch, and I check it before the end of the day. I give myself an entire hour to close up my day. Does anyone else do that? I have a Fitbit that vibrates when it's, say I'm leaving at 5, I have my Fitbit go off at 4 o'clock and it starts telling me and it says, wrap it up. And then I have an alarm go off on my phone 15 minutes later that says, pick up your kids, because obviously I need reminded of that, obviously. And so, because I've got so many tabs open that I need that time to shut my brain down, shut everything down and plan for the next day. Make sure I see, did any of these not get taken care of? Move them forward. And the way I kind of know what I've taken care of is, as you can see here on this Thursday, I've grayed out a few of these. I mark them as gray, and that's when I know I've done. If they're still in color and I'll go back and review my week or my day at the end of the day, and I'll move stuff forward, if that makes sense. That's why there's a blank here, because I've moved some of these things forward because I didn't quite get to them that day. And then on a Friday, so follow up Friday in the morning, I follow up. And in the afternoon, I do a passion project. I either do training, I listen to a podcast. You could say I was listening to Hen's podcast by Nadine King here, or remind myself to listen to the podcast by Nadine King on Henrietta Barker's podcast, The Assistants Together. So I do a passion project on a Friday. I don't want to be stressing on a Friday. So I make it so I take on no new work on a Friday. That really, really helps me with time management. So I think about my categories. I start, finance, email, personal breaks. I think about my categories. I prioritize them. So if something comes in, I can say, okay, is that finance has to be done now, or can it wait till my finance time? And I can decide what I want to do there. So that's kind of how I arrange my week.
Lauren, I'm curious, when you think about like how you arrange your week and it looks very organized, how rigid are you at maintaining the flow? Because it looks beautiful, right? But let's be clear, we're administrative professionals and we're going to get interrupted, and we're going to have to run around with our fire extinguishers to put out everybody else's problems. So, how often are you able to kind of maintain the flow of this calendar?
That is a really good question. And so what I call this is a soft scheduling. This is my guideline. So this is not, there's some things in here that are hard scheduling. So things definitely in red, the things where I change the color. I do not color code every single type of meeting. That is too much. I can't remember what they are, and my executive can never remember. If my executive is a type A personality, they can remember every single color, or they want to follow the colors, then you bet I'll learn it. But for me, I'm not going to force anyone to do that. Everything's mostly in one color. And then if it's super important, I just change it to red. Or if it's a me, I might change it to another color just to break it up. But I make sure that I know what is hard scheduling is in red, typically. So this is just an example. Also, as I said, I put everything in for at least 30 minutes because I know I'm going to be interrupted. I know something is going to come up. And so I allow myself to constantly be moving this day. And in fact, one of my slides that's coming up says course correct as you go. To be an agile assistant, this is going to have to move around. It just is. But what this allows you to do is when someone comes to your desk or hits you up on Teams or on Slack or whatever and says, when they ask you to do something, but they don't really ask you, they just kind of tell you and expect you to do it. You can look and visually see you ain't got time for that. So you find the power and the words and the understanding to actually say no, because so many of us get caught up in our to-do list and we don't even know what we just did. Does anyone do that? Where you're like, I have no idea what I've done today. I have to go back and look at my emails to even write out a done list, let alone a to-do list, right? Yes. So you can keep this as a boundary. It is a visual. I can literally turn my computer quickly in case it's confidential, but I can say, I'm so sorry. I'm really busy this week. And I would have the answer every time because this thing would be full, and say, Can you please tell me a bit more about it? What is the deadline? Always, always, always get the deadline. When is this due by? Can it be, okay, I've got a spot on Wednesday at this time. Can I help you with it then? If they can't, they will say, don't worry about it, and they'll walk away. They might be a little frustrated, but they'll understand that you've got priorities too. It gives you power. This type of scheduling that's the first thing it gave me, not only clarity, but it gave me power to say, I actually don't have that much time in my day. If you look at this, by the time I've done my walkthrough, stand at my walkthrough and do emails, I've got about 2 hours to work on a project before I have to go to lunch. And I want to make sure that I take my lunch, because you need that mental rest time to be able to think better and do tasks better. You need that. And so, and I know the importance of that. And so I actually found out that I can get about 3 good things done a day. That's about it. And when you realize that, it really gives you power to prioritize better. It changes your whole perception of your time, because time is perceived. Time is a concept. When I started doing this, I started to understand how much time I really had. And I suddenly felt like I had less time, but it made me more productive, if that makes sense. I have a general prototype calendar for my executives one-on-ones. Right. So you have this sort of guideline. It really helps. This has changed over the years, by the way, for myself, because my priorities have changed. The tasks that I have to be involved in are different because I'm a founder now. I still have one private PA client, but mostly I'm working on the officials and in training, and I need time for writing, uninterrupted writing time. But what this allowed me to do was say what I call the non-no or the non-yes. I can never remember what I call it. But basically, instead of saying to someone no, I go, okay, I have time here. How can I help you? Or if they come to you with sort of a half-cocked idea, I'll go, that sounds great. I love this. Someone came to me once and said that we should buy everyone Fitbits. And I was like, I love that idea. I love why you want to do it. And they were expecting me to just walk into the CEO's office and tell it to them. But I don't have time for that. So I said, if you can come back with a case study with examples of other employee engagement programs around health and well-being, why this would help. I'm sure there's something, if you talk to Fitbit about buying a bulk order, they must have something like this. And if you can get that together and bring it to me, I'll happily stand in your corner and walk into the CEO's office with you. What do you think happened? I never saw that guy again. So that really helped me be able to say these non-nos, because I can say, okay, I can help you on this date, or I can do this type of thing, but we're going to push it off. Okay. So I want to tell you, has everyone heard about these apps? So these are the types of things that help me automate things. Okay. So how I automate things are the Otter app, which, if you don't know the Otter app, it will record and transcribe minutes for meetings. My big advice on Otter is make sure you're writing notes at the same time, because otherwise you'll have to listen to the meeting twice, and nobody wants that. But Otter used to be really bad. It used to be terrible at dictation. Of course, if you're coming from some other country, you have to go to their website. I think I've linked. There's a page on their website. If you just look up accents and languages and Otter app, it'll come up. You'll find it, and it'll tell you what it specializes in, because it's not always for every language. I really like Asana and Trello. I have graduated from paper to Trello to Asana, I would say, because Asana has more features. If you are just saying paper is not enough for me, my notebook's not enough, I would try out Trello next, which we have a course for that. I would then try out Asana next. We have a course for that. I use Pomodoro timers and my Google Assistant all the time to say, hey, Google, set a 10-minute timer. I need interrupting to tell me to stop. Okay, so I use Pomodoro timers. There's a great app called the Focus app. And then also I just use Siri and Google and Alexa, and I tell them, interrupt me, please. And then as I do in my morning routine, is I always have a playlist going. There's things like Binaural Beats, which the evidence is out whether this really helps you concentrate or not. There's supposed to be different sound waves that can help stimulate your brain. I've listened to Binaural Beats a few times, and I didn't feel like they were any more or less helpful than listening to lo-fi beats, which are non-vocal, sort of just sort of bouncy music. I've got a few playlists. If anyone's interested, I can share them with you. Just hit me up in my contact details shortly. But I have that going all the time. I need something that's in the background, but non-distracting. That really, really, really helps me. Also, I listen to ASMR. So sometimes I'll have that in the background, which will help, which will just be like sounds. I don't know if anyone knows what ASMR is. It's for some people, it's really freaky. For other people, it's really soothing and relaxing. But I'll listen to those types of things as I'm going. As I said before, course correct as needed. I've shown you all of those different time techniques. There's tons of them. The ones that work the best for me are setting an intention for my day, scheduling everything, automating what I can, and then evaluating it and course correcting as I can. I listen to chakra music. It really helps me focus. I love that, Jillian. You have to share some with me.
Yeah. So my lovely friend, this is a perfect slide to be landing on because we don't want to rush folks off the call. It's been such an engaging presentation, and you are always so authentic and so kind. So I want to make sure our audience has an opportunity to ask some questions. So if you do have questions for Lauren, please put them in the chat and she will field them as they come.
So I see somebody in here saying, am I the only one that can't listen to music while I work? I have to sing along. This is why it's super important to me that I listen to non-vocal. So if you're on Spotify, there's one called Lo-Fi Beats. There's another one, there's ones called Binaural Beats, or I'll find a playlist where I don't know the people very well. There's a guy called Still Woozy that I listen to a lot because I don't know the words, but it's sort of this relaxing beat. And so I'll listen to that a lot. But I can't listen to something I know the words to. Or lately I've been watching a really bad television show on Amazon. I'm not even paying attention other than the fact that this show is so bad. I don't know if has anyone ever watched Haven before? Sorry, it was on for 5 seasons, but it is amazingly bad, but also music. But anyway, I think that's my version of body doubling. So it doesn't actually distract me because it's not a great show, but it just is there. I don't know why it works. It really, really works. Headspace is great too. Love Haven, right? Sorry, but it is, oh, Marianne, it is, some of the stuff in there is ridiculous, but I'm watching all 5 seasons. I mean, I'm addicted in a weird way. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, so let me ask you this. Did this help you feel that you're not alone when it comes to time management? Did it help you feel like maybe you should start scheduling some stuff? Working in Europe, I get a lot of requests after working hours from US colleagues, struggle to switch off. Any advice? Okay, Tracy, great question. Okay, so what the world is catching up to is what a lot of tech, fully distributed companies have known for a very long time. There are companies that have been working perfectly fine with distributed workforces in tons of different time zones, no problem. But the world is catching up to this. And this is something you can help educate the rest of your company on, is that you have to change your whole communication style. You have to change your understanding of the concept of time in a workday, honestly. And so one, you have to prioritize your executives' time. So if there are requests for meetings, set an expectation. You contribute to the narrative of what is expected from you. Okay. So make sure that you say, okay, listen, I shut off at this time. And unless it's urgent, I do not, I will make a response at this time. In fact, you might even want to set an out of office, put a reminder in your calendar to set an out of office to remind people where you are on WhatsApp or on LinkedIn or something for an international crew to be able to get you in an emergency. But otherwise, you are done at this particular hour. There is crossovers in times. And so just know where those hot hours are and remind them every time you talk to them, hey, I'll do this now, or I'll do this in the morning maybe, and just remind them, hey, in future, try and grab me before 6 our time or 1 p.m. your time, because I will not be responding to these because you do not work 24/7. Someone who does this really well is Ebony Belhumer. She lives in France. She works for a company in Silicon Valley. They're a completely distributed workforce. She wrote our remote assistant success course. She's amazing. She's from LA, lives in France, gets flown business class to New York. She is like the ultimate remote assistant, and she's really good at that. And you have to change the way you talk. No more politenesses and passive. I was wondering if you might be able to, the appointments at this time, I've done this for you, and understand that there's positive intent behind every communication. Ebony Bell Humor. So if you go to the assistance list is what her Instagram is and her website is. And if you go on our website at jointheofficials.com and you go to training courses, you'll find her remote assistant success course, and it tells you all about her, and you can link to her, and she's just awesome. Honest to God,
Lauren,
she is so cool.
I want to call attention to a question that came up because I'm not sure
Yes,
if other
please.
folks are feeling it, but you were talking about ADHD earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And Wendy was wondering if you think she should disclose her ADHD to her executive.
So one, I want to remind everyone, I'm not diagnosed. I am a very good candidate, and likely it will happen. But on the NHS here, it's with COVID, it's supposed to be 18 weeks, and now it's like months. So, but I'm a very good candidate. This came up a couple of times with assistants that I know in the officials, and who also either have it or suspected have it. And do you disclose it? In the UK, you do not have to disclose. I don't really know anywhere where you have to disclose. I think that depends on that influence formula of confidence in your abilities, building the trust by being consistent in what you do, and making sure that your boss knows that you are reliable. And then being able to say, okay, I'm going to make a judgment call now. So they're human. They see me as a human. When I feel like that person sees me as a human, then I feel I can disclose things. I'm someone that discloses a lot more. As you guys know, I'm telling you all about my business. I left my kid behind. I'm telling you about, my issues with forgetting stuff all the time. Why I have all these issues. I forgot to show you my slides. I mean, like, I am human. I mess up all the time. And yet I'm a top performing EA. I've won awards. I've got an amazing career, but I'm human. But I want to make sure that person sees me as human and I see them as human, and there's a trust factor built there. Then I would totally disclose it personally, because that's the relationship I would have. I would know it wouldn't be weaponized, that it would only be a way to be supportive, if that makes sense. But that is a judgment call you will have to make. So yeah, so Jackie in here is saying something. She actually might be a good person to ask, connect with on LinkedIn. She might be better. I'm in the UK, where that's not something that we have to disclose. I also think that's your business. It's up to you. That's in my personal opinion.
I would agree with that.
I'm pretty sure that you don't have to disclose that much stuff. I'm pretty sure.
So in the United States, you don't have to, unless very specific to the role that you hold. So for example, if part of your job is to be driving a company vehicle and moving equipment on behalf of the company, you may need to disclose things like any eyesight limitations that you have. So I would encourage you to really think about the relationship that you have with your leader. There is a level of authenticity that it helps your leader work with you better if you're struggling. And so if you are struggling to produce the work that's expected of you, and having a dialogue with your leader about your limitations, such as ADHD, may help you have a stronger relationship because you're creating understanding and empathy.
Do you see this question, Jillian? This last one? Okay, so there's a question that I totally agree with everything Jillian just said. And I think it's a real personal choice, and it's building that influence. So I think this is a great following question is, how do you balance being human and being in a role where you're supporting C-level executives who expect perfection or damn near close to it?
Yeah.
I don't work for those people.
I certainly have, and I think we might need to have a follow-up webinar on it, right? So Tiara, I would love for you to follow up with me afterward. So we are over time for this presentation. I want to take a moment to thank Lauren. I want to thank Evan for behind the scenes helping us with all the IT. Evan is the co-founder of Cabinet. The second co-founder of Cabinet actually didn't join us today because she just went on mat leave. So we're super excited for Julia. So we will follow up. I'm accessible. Find me on LinkedIn. Lauren's accessible. Find her through the officials. Thank you all so much for joining us. Any feedback that you have, feel free to send it back through email or through LinkedIn. We love you all. We're super committed to this community of amazing administrative professionals.
Thank you so much, guys. Hit me up if you have any lasting questions. I can talk to you later, or we can set up a discovery call. Thanks, Jillian.
Thank you. Bye, friends.